Alright, man, what it do, YouTube? It's your boy Key coming at y'all boys with a brand new video, and today we finna go ahead and get into this story on Bundog, however y'all want to call it, because I know in Canada they talk a little bit different, you feel me? But that's nor here nor there. Let's go ahead and get into this video.
Saturday morning at a Super Bowl weekend party near West Hollywood.
Maximus, no way when I was with him, he could have got shot. Nobody around me getting shot.
You got dudes like Bundog. I don't know if you know Bundog Presser, brother.
Oh, I know Presser.
Yo, listen, his brother.
Fucking gangster. When the young bucks in the spot, that's damn. Run up on your block, know them things gon' blam. Trust no one, keep the metal in my hand. Cause these young niggas out here running to my scam.
I know he trying to say Bundog one of them ones, man. Hello.
Shamar Gardner, better known by his rap name Bundog, was born into a world of hardship and struggle. His neighborhood, Driftwood Court, was known for its unforgiving streets, where dreams often met a tragic end, but little did anyone know that from these very streets, a future star would emerge. Born October 20th, 1992, Bundog's formative years were marked by adversity. His father, Mark Anthony Gardner Sr., street name Prestige, not only has a lengthy criminal record consisting of convictions for drugs and violent crime, but a very bad temper. On a June night in 1995, the then 24-year-old Prestige, who at the time was on parole for bank robbery, decided to vent his usual anger out on a 26-year-old volunteer security guard named David Williams. Williams, who spent his days working for the city as a youth worker, was volunteering as a doorman during a dance for high schoolers at a banquet hall on Weston Road. The job was simple. Guests provide a ticket, Williams accepts it and lets them in. Prestige, however, attempted to get into the dance without a ticket, resulting in Williams confronting him. The two engaged in a heated argument that escalated into Prestige threatening to kill Williams. Moments later, Prestige calmly retrieved a handgun from his car, returned to the dance, and fired a single shot at Williams, killing him instantly. "I said I'd shoot you," Prestige reportedly told the dying man before fleeing the scene. A judge called it a deliberate execution and sentenced Prestige to 15 years in prison for second-degree murder. Bundog.
The thing about it is, I don't see how that's not first-degree murder, because it is premeditated. He said, "I'll shoot you," walked off, got a gun, came back, and shot him. It's premeditated. You feel me? But nonetheless, also in Canada, like I say this every time somebody gets sentenced to a crime they do in Canada, bro, that's like a manslaughter. You know what I'm saying? Well, actually, no, it's second degree. You know what I'm saying? So it does hold less time. But you know, if they give it 15 years for bodies instead of life in the U.S., a lot more people would be dying.
3, while his brother Quentin, widely known by his rap name Pressa, was just 36 days old when their father pulled that trigger. The murder sentence created a financial crunch in the Gardner household. During a court hearing, their mother submitted a letter saying that money was tight. She was faced with a dilemma. On one hand, she needed to leave the house to earn money. On the other hand, she needed to stay home to keep her children from the criminal influences that pervaded their neighborhood. Either way, the boys would have to learn to navigate a world where good deeds aren't always rewarded. You see, the Gardner family weren't just living in some rough area, they were living in the heart of it. City of Toronto statistics show that Driftwood is the least livable community in the city, based on an aggregation of scores for education, employment, mortality, and other criteria. Unemployment is roughly twice the national average. 1/3 of residents collect social assistance, and gun and gang violence is damn near a common occurrence. Gang violence in the General Jane and Finch corridor got so bad that it became divided into two factions. There's up top, which is the north side of Jane and Finch. It's a predominantly Crip territory and is home to gangs like the G-Siders, Driftwood Crips, and the infamous Young Buck Killers, a violent crew whom I'll discuss later in the video. Then there's down bottom, which is the south side of Jane and Finch, home to gang
York University. I don't know what it is, but there's always a college somewhere near the trenches, bro. Like even the whole AUC, bro, that's in the west side of Atlanta, bro. That's in the trenches, bro. What was it? MIT and I think Harvard up there in Boston by the trenches, bro. I don't know why that's a common theme. Maybe because it's
Then
cheap.
there's Down Bottom, which is the south side
I'ma
of
say
Jane
this, maybe
and
because
Finch,
it's cheap.
home to gang.
And they know that students who can't afford housing, like the school's housing, can afford that. Maybe. I don't know.
Such as the Connection Young Bloods and the Lanes. Down Bottom is where the Bloods call home. Coincidentally, Bundog was raised in the Down Bottom area because his father is originally from there. He spent a few years in the Blood-affiliated block until he moved in with his mother up in Driftwood in the 3rd grade.
With his pops. So, yo, pop,
As he
bro, I ain't
navigated
gonna
the
cap. You can't, you know what I'm saying? I don't want to speak too much on their family situation because we don't know all aspects, but there's no way in hell your pops, you was living with your pops, and he just had another kid, and he just did that stupid ass shit because somebody wouldn't let him in a dance.
Never-ending challenges of his environment, Bundog found solace in basketball. It was his first passion, and he was pretty good at it. But by the time he got into high school, his size began to interfere with his
playing basketball with a ski on, bro. You know you got beef.
Advancement in the sport. Realizing he wouldn't be able to make it to the league, he no longer saw school as having any value and started to skip without his mother's knowledge. Eventually, he dropped out, earning only 7 credits towards his high school diploma. Mr. Devin Jones is a teacher with the Toronto District School Board and a co-founder of a grassroots community organization operating out of the Jane and Finch area of Toronto. In more than 2 decades teaching in the Driftwood area, Mr. Jones has witnessed countless young men turn to crime as a solution to their marginal circumstances. He likens the neighborhood to a prison where young people become habituated to poverty and violence. Mr. Jones first met Bundog when he was in grade 6 at Brookview Middle School, where he is a teacher. He worked with him as both a student and in the community through basketball and other programs, and described him as a very productive, engaging, and respectful student. Today, Mr. Jones avoids speaking.
That we've noticed and that we can admit through a lot of these videos that we've watched, the students who are usually good at whatever they do, whatever they try, whether it be basketball, football, just their schoolwork in general, they take that with them even when they're doing crimes. Like the dude who do the best in school, who be trying and this, that, and the third, but then he starts robbing people, is usually a good robber. The dude who's like that and he starts killing people, he usually is a King Bond. You know what I'm saying? Like, not only do you get obsessed with what you quote unquote good at, but you good at it, so you get away with it most of the time.
Directly about the Gardner's circumstances, but talks openly about one of their close friends, Kwasi Skeen Peters, better known in the streets as Wasi. Mr. Jones recalls one Saturday in 2005 when gunfire erupted in Driftwood, leaving a Driftwood-based gang member dead on a footbridge. He watched Wasi, then a preteen, stumble across the bullet-riddled body. "I thought to myself, he will never be a kid again," Mr. Jones said. "There's no way you can see something this grotesque as a child and go on to become a normal functioning human being." Mr. Jones encouraged Bundog and Wasi to join his grassroots community organization, which he started after the footbridge incident to steer at-risk kids off the streets and into school. On at least one occasion, he took Bundog and Wasi to a camp outside the city to remove them from the life that was beginning to envelop them. While Mr. Jones's tireless efforts put hundreds of children on a path to post-secondary education, he could not save Wasi and Bundog. The two friends dropped out of school to work various parts
from somewhere, but if that's the case, then why is he always wearing the ski? Does he not want people to know who he is? Or because they're gonna be like, "Hey, yo, Bundog," like they still gonna call you by your name, whether they see your face or not. They look related too.
Minimum wage jobs before entering the drug trade full-time. When the two saw other kids in the Driftwood neighborhood making fast money dealing drugs, the transition into drug trafficking was easy for them. Before you know it, Bundog was manufacturing and distributing by the age of 18, and by 19, he became the head honcho of one of the most violent street gangs in Toronto.
Guns, drugs, attempted murder, prostitution. We have breaking news this hour on a cross-Canada crackdown on gang crime. Raids are underway in cities from Toronto all the way out to Vancouver.
Handguns, automatic rifles, and more than $100,000 in cash. Items seized during yesterday's cross-country crackdown.
The project quickly developed into a criminal organization involving 2 criminal gangs. The Young Buck Killers, also referred to as YBK, and the G-Siders.
Started by a small group of friends in the Uptop community, the Young Buck Killers, also known as YBK, specialized in the trafficking of drugs and guns. YBK was formerly known as the Young Blood Killers, which is in reference to their main rivals, the Connection Young Bloods. According to 8 confidential informants, YBK were led by 3 gang bosses: Mohammed Hersi, Guled Mahadale, who was the brother of rapper FB, and the man himself, Bundog.
He's a leader?
Living in a community where drug use was rampant, they became successful enough to rent apartments and condos as safe houses for underlings to work out of and sleep in. With the mass recruitment of youngsters from the block, the local drug operation eventually turned to a province-wide business, with high-ranking members even conducting operations within detention facilities. Within a few years of creation, the number of members reached into the hundreds, with several scattered throughout Canada. YBK grew so big, by the fall of 2011, Toronto police classified them as a criminal organization and began taking action to stop their drug trafficking operations. They organized the Canadian version of a RICO and named it Project Marvel. Their first course of action? Wiretaps, a whole lot of them. From May to December of 2011, Toronto police collected a substantial amount of evidence against Bundog and numerous YBK members through wiretaps. From teaching youngsters how to properly package certain drugs to organizing a hit on a rival gang member, investigators heard it all. On paper, it amounted to more than 500 pages worth of evidence. I won't be detailing each piece of evidence. Rather, I'll be analyzing incidents I believe forced investigators to cease the operations of the Young Buck Killers.
What was that? What was she standing right there for?
The earliest documented crime was the February 2011 shooting of Derek Palmer. In a neighborhood some distance to the west of Jane and Finch, Palmer was struck by a bullet fired by a passenger in a car. He survived the shooting, but he did not see any of the suspects. 3 months later, on May 10th, at around 3 p.m., O'Neill Galburn and his 2 companions were in Uptop territory when they were shot at. 8 hours after this incident, Andrew Nugent and a friend were in Down Bottom territory, specifically in the Grassways neighborhood, when they were approached by 3 black males armed with handguns. Nugent was shot twice. Fortunately, he survived. The next day, residents of a neighborhood some distance to the west of Jane and Finch reported hearing the sound of gunshots in a parking lot. It was late at night and no one saw the perpetrators. The police attended and found gunshot damage to 2 parked cars. The next day, residents of a down-bottom neighborhood known as the Lanes reported gunshots fired at their homes. It was late at night, and once the police arrived at the scene, they found a number of shell casings and projectiles, as well as gunshot damage to the homes. Surveillance video showed 3 or more suspicious males wearing all dark clothing. After this 4th shooting, police surveillance efforts were made to trail Bundog and his accomplices. A number of suspects were followed between May 14th and August 16th, 2011. Some of them could not be found and some of them engaged in counter-surveillance tactics, but the one particularly useful piece of surveillance evidence was conducted on May 14th. On that day, Bundog was observed exiting his residence shortly after 2 p.m. 2 hours later, Pressa was seen going into the backyard and coming back out with a noticeable bulge in his waistband area. 10 minutes later, Pressa returned to the backyard, clutching his waistband with his left hand. When he reemerged, the bulge in his waistband was gone. At 8:20 p.m. that evening, officers executed a search warrant on Bundog and Pressa's residence, which saw the seizure of 2 handguns from a shed in the backyard. 2 months later, on July 8th, 2011, Toronto police were advised
how much they were being watched, especially back in 2011. But if you got some dirty pistols, you got to get rid of them, bro. Especially if you have the means. He said they was getting money. So especially if you had the means to, you know what I'm saying, buy some more firearms, bro. If they dirty, get rid of them.
Forensic ballistic experts that the shell casings and projectiles found at the scene of the 4 shootings that were previously mentioned matched both of the guns seized from the Gardner household. Although Toronto police now had forensic evidence linking Bundog and Pressa to 4 shootings, it still wasn't enough to take down the entire operation of the Young Buck Killers, so the investigation continued. From July through to September, YBK slowed down on their illicit activities, but come October, it picked back up again, but this time around, things got drastically more violent.
They're like Somali or something like that, but they look Asian a little bit. Like Samoan.
On October 1st, 2011, Shamari White, better known as rapper YG, robbed a kid who went by the nickname Brains for his white gold chain. In an intercepted phone call the day after the robbery, Bundog talked at length about YG's robbery of Brains, going as far as calling it a quote-unquote young buck thing. He also spoke about coming back to Toronto to build a drug program. He went further into detail, talking about how he wasn't going back to Driftwood until he had loaded up on drugs and guns to give to his YBK underlings. Later that day, Officer Asner of Toronto Police Services arrested an individual at 390 Driftwood Avenue in connection with an alleged domestic dispute. The individual identified himself as Shane Campbell and said he resided there. He was eventually released, and most of the property found on him at the time of his arrest, including a white gold chain, was returned to him. The only thing that wasn't returned to him was a BlackBerry bowl, because Campbell said it wasn't his and he didn't know where he got it from. After searching through pictures taken on the phone, officers discovered the man who identified himself as Campbell was actually YG, and the chain found on him belonged to Brains. Further investigation.
Okay, so I don't know Canadian law, but obviously it seems like they don't need a warrant to go through your phone if they arrest you. And, well, I mean, I guess he would tell them that to change the name is one thing, but bro, that's my phone, like.
Also concluded the BlackBerry Bold was registered to one Quincy Taylor, which is an alias Bundog used when conducting his illicit activities. 2 days later, YG called Bundog and told him that he lost his phone. He then proceeded to make up an elaborate story about losing it, saying he and other YBK members were in a taxi with a gun when they were suddenly stopped by police. YG said he jumped out of the car and ran, leaving the phone in the car, but as the police chased him, the others got away with the gun. When YG said the police probably have the phone, Bundog expressed concern that there were pictures and videos and a lot of his quote-unquote personal shit in the phone. A week later, at approximately 1:59 a.m. on October 15th, 20-year-old YBK member Christopher Rookwood was shot and killed at a townhouse complex located in Uptop Territory. Several YBK members were there when it happened, one of them being rapper GD. Following the murder, wiretaps intercepted a series of calls made by Bundog, GD, and other YBK members. They were all distraught, with GD explaining what happened to Rockwood in gruesome detail. He explained how Rockwood got hit in the chest with a bullet from a long rifle. There was blood everywhere, the walls were ripped apart, and the apartment looked like a battlefield. Muhammad Hersey was at the scene of the shooting as well, and he tried firing off defensive shots, but GD claims the .40 caliber he was shooting with was sounding like a .22 compared to the guns the ops had. Before ending the call, several elder YBK members, including GD, voiced their displeasure of YG. They felt his behavior was detrimental to the gang, with some even blaming him for Rockwood's death. Court documents failed to detail why the elder members felt this way, but it's clear there was tension brewing within the gang, and the only person who can take action was Bundog. He ended up sending YG back to Toronto.
They followed him or however it was, bro, but he's saying if they saying that he the reason that they died, how did they even know where y'all was at, bro? It had to be him. You know what I'm saying? He had to do something that he probably wasn't supposed to do, or something that they didn't approve of, because they wouldn't just put, especially like they homies, they wouldn't just put no random body on somebody that they, even though they're not putting the body on him technically because he ain't kill him, but you know what I mean.
To ease the tension as he continued to conduct his drug operation in Surrey, BC. Based off the intercepted phone calls, it's clear Rockwood's death affected Bundog deeply, but just a few hours later, it was back to business as usual for the gang boss. While he was in Surrey setting up a drug program, Bundog arranged to purchase 2 handguns, some marijuana, and in order to send them all back to Toronto for use by YBK. Bundog instructed other members of YBK in Toronto to send Derek Kusi, a junior member of YBK, out to BC to be the courier. Kusi was in BC for just over 24 hours, and during that time, Bundog instructed him on how to pack the contraband safely for travel. Bundog also made sure Kusi had sufficient money to purchase a bus ticket to Toronto. Unfortunately for Kusi, officers were well aware of what was going on and stopped him at the Surrey bus terminal. Upon his arrest, he was found with 2 guns, ammunition, and an ounce of. Following Kusi's arrest, there was a series of telephone calls involving Bundog and others discussing why Kusi had not arrived in Toronto, where he might be, and where the items he was bringing were. There was also a phone call made by YG asking Bundog where to obtain a firearm somewhere in Hamilton. 11 days after the conversation, GD was shot in the foot in Hamilton. Shortly after the shooting, Bundog was called by one of his associates who was with GD, asking him what they should do. Bundog told them to call 911, which they did. A few minutes later, before the police arrived at the scene, the associate called Bundog back, asking him what they should do with the gun they had. Bundog instructed them to give the gun to another associate who was also with GD, Prince Asante, and have him leave. Bundog then met up with YG and they joined up with Asante in a black Charger, but they were stopped by police a few minutes later. Asante was arrested, but Bundog and YG got out the car and jumped a nearby fence together, successfully evading arrest. The police subsequently found a loaded .45 caliber automatic handgun on the floor of the Charger. Based off wiretapped conversations later that night between Bundog, YG, and several other YBK members, it was clear that they knew who shot GD, and there was talk of retaliation. However, Toronto police believed they now had a sufficient amount of evidence to establish Bundog and his YBK underlings had access to multiple guns which were used not only for protection while carrying out their drug programs, but also for retaliation if required. So, 2 days later, Project Marvel commenced. At approximately 5 in the morning, nearly 900 law enforcement officers from various departments began executing 67 search warrants simultaneously across Toronto, Hamilton, Ottawa, and Surrey, British Columbia. On December 13, 2011, at 6:15 a.m., Bundog was arrested at a residence on 2360 Weston Road along with another YBK member. In the apartment, officers seized drug and drug trafficking contraband such as scales and wads of cash. Police also seized 2 phones, both of which contained several videos and pictures of Bundog and other YBK affiliates flaunting drugs, guns, and money. Project Marvel ended with 60 arrests, 10 being young offenders. They were charged with nearly 400 offenses. In total, the raid seized $110,000 in cash and 27 firearms. Project Marvel made headlines across the country, but one story that caught my eye was this botched raid.
Maud Mirage doesn't hear very well, but she says she certainly heard police kick in her bedroom door yesterday morning, a police rifle pointed at her head.
I was extremely shocked. I was like, my heart just dropped.
Natalie Brown says she got a call that her great-grandmother was in jail. She says police kept her there for nearly 12 hours without food or her medication before finally letting her go.
Having lived for 94 years, she hasn't experienced nothing like this before, so it's pretty terrible.
Police say they were actually looking for Mirage's grandson, a 21-year-old alleged gang member who's now behind bars facing weapons charges.
Crazy, bro,
according to court
documents, police come and kick your door, they don't have to pay for it. Like, bro, imagine they just knock your front door down, you ain't got no money. You can't, like, what are you gonna do?
Toronto police conducted several raids in the Driftwood Court neighborhood at 5 in the morning. During one of them, they kicked down the door of an elderly woman expecting to find her grandson. That grandson ended up being Bundog, who was found in the west end of the city an hour later. The 94-year-old grandmother was arrested and kept in custody for nearly an hour before she was released. The botched raid could have easily destroyed the 3-month investigation officers worked tirelessly on, but the substantial evidence collected made it hard for the courts to dismiss. For years after getting taken down, trial for the head honchos of YBK began. The first one up to hear his fate was Muhammad Hersey. Justice Stephen Clark called him one of the gang's principal leaders with a lengthy criminal history before sentencing him to 13 years in prison. Gully was handed an 8-year sentence and was deported to Somalia. Bundog was convicted on 14 different gun, drug, and gang charges. At his sentencing hearing, many of his loved ones were in attendance, including his former teacher, Mr. Jones. Seeing how many people were there to support him, Bundog took the opportunity to address the court and provide a heartfelt apology. I was deceived by the generations that preceded me with the cars, the clothes, the women, and the fancy jewelry that this type of lifestyle was a life to live, and it was also the shortcut around the hard work and toil, he said, before expressing hope that Pressa would avoid his example. I feel like I failed my little brother, and if I don't change my life, that kid is never going to change his life, and I have to change for him. Bundog was subsequently handed a 10-year sentence.
I ain't gonna cap though. That's like I said, I'm gonna say this every time I hear somebody get sentenced. That is light, bro. Except for the dude who got deported. That's kind of extreme. Not extreme, but like that's more so something that you think would happen. You got 10 years for being the leader of a violent gang. 14 charges. You got less than a year on each charge, basically. Obviously, you're doing 10 years, so whatever it is, you know what I'm saying, the highest amount of time you got was 10 years, but nigga, that's half of what people get for Rico.
Word around the streets of Toronto claimed Bundog's time in prison wasn't easy. After all, he was the shot caller for one of the city's most infamous gang at the time. This made him a major target for rival crews. Reddit users and rival gang members claimed he was beaten on numerous
licking and cleaning toilets during his stay in prison. Can't play with me, I'm the final one. Make Finch great again, free Doovie. So that's a blood guy. Bundog was really a punching bag in prison. 10K Truth claiming Bundog was getting slapped in jail and licking toilets. I ain't gonna cap. Y'all niggas gonna kill me. I ain't licking no toilet, bro. I don't give a fuck about what's going on. Kill me.
occasions, stabbed, and at one point, he had his head shoved in a toilet. Keep in mind, none of the incidents were confirmed to be true, but considering Bundog's notoriety,
so many people gonna be in jail for a very long time, bro. This nigga, if he's really a shot caller like they say he is, he's not gonna forget this shit, bro. You know what I'm saying? And when he get his power up, when he get to being where he at again, or where he was on the street again, because you're more powerful in prison than you are in on the street, which is like weird, but it is what it is. Something can happen, yeah.
It wouldn't be surprising if they were. The gang boss was eventually released on parole in 2017, spending a total of 6 years in prison. Most of you may be surprised at how early he was released, but in Canada this is nothing new. According to Canadian law, prisoners are only required to spend 2/3 of their sentence in custody. After that, they are eligible for parole. After being released on parole in 2017, Bundog spent the next 4 years under the radar, that is until he finished parole and dropped his debut single in 2021.
For the low, bricks for the low. Busted all the packs, draw some birdies, go. Bricks for the low, bricks for the low.
Bricks for the low was a statement. Bundog was telling Toronto's underground rap scene he was ready to claim his place, and he further proved that statement by founding the music label Blue Feathers Records. Under his guidance, BFR has become a hub for emerging talent, boasting a roster that includes notable artists such as Pressa, J Neat, and YG. This move not only showcases Bundog's resilience, but also his commitment to uplifting fellow artists and providing them a platform to thrive. Bundog's life in the streets may be long gone, but that doesn't mean he wouldn't be caught up in any more problems. 1 year after completing his parole, he would be back in the spotlight. This time it involved one of the most popular rappers of the decade.
Shots ring out early Saturday morning at a Super Bowl weekend party near West Hollywood. LAPD says 4 men were shot outside of the swanky bar The Nice Guy on La Cienega at Westmount just before 3 this morning. Police say rapper Kodak Black was among those wounded in the shooting.
Oh, Bundog. They say Bundog did this?
February 12th, 2022. It's Super Bowl weekend in Los Angeles as their home team, the LA Rams, are set to face off against the Cincinnati Bengals the following day. Fans across the City of Angels hosted their own parties in anticipation for the big event, including pop star Justin Bieber. The singer's party was a star-studded event featuring guests like Jeff Bezos, Drake, and Kendall Jenner. Kodak and his crew arrived to the event, attempting to get in, but they were denied entry and were told to wait for people to leave. Kodak chose to wait around and take pictures with fans to kill time, but within a few minutes, a fight broke out between a member of Kodak Black's entourage and Pressa, who was also attempting to get into the party. The entire altercation was captured on camera from beginning to end. After reviewing all the footage, it appears the incident started with a member of Kodak's entourage throwing the first punch at Pressa. Instinctively, Pressa ran towards members of his own entourage calling for assistance. As he was running, Pressa lost his footing and was caught by an angry Kodak Black, who began throwing kicks and punches. Seconds later, a masked gunman appears out of nowhere and fired 10 bullets recklessly in the direction of the scuffle. In total, 4 people were struck by bullets, including Kodak, who was hit in the leg. Fortunately, everyone survived. Kodak spent a few days in hospital rehabilitating his wounded leg and was eventually released. The shooting made international headlines and left people wondering, who was the shooter? That question remained unanswered for less than
let me say so. This Kodak right here was the funniest Kodak on earth, bro. This nigga with like I don't even know what to call it, bro, with the African dad haircut, bro. This nigga was a fucking movie, bro. That shit was funny as hell, bro.
The shooter. That question remained unanswered for less than a week after a blogger by the name of Poetic Flacco released a shocking video pointing out Bundog as the gunman. In the 3-minute and 51-second video, Flacco provided a clip of a one-on-one basketball match between Pressa and singer YK Osiris. The game was played a few hours before the shooting, and Flacco made note of several people in the background who look eerily identical to the men seen trying to pull Pressa away from the scuffle with Kodak and his crew. Flacco then draws the conclusion the masked gunman must be Bundog because he is always masked up and is usually around Pressa. Viewers had mixed feelings about the video. Some praised Bundog for protecting his brother, while others called Flacco a rat for pointing fingers at people without any solid evidence.
I'm not gonna cap.
Although Flacco's accusations,
like the journalists be trying to be first, they be trying to be that guy. An open case, bro, is a little bit too much. Like stuff like with the Fulio situation, like nigga, everybody, we didn't know that the people who actually did it. Everybody was saying, "Oh, young and ace," but when it came out, it came out. When y'all put the story together, okay, cool, but when y'all going off of the information that is already out there, cool. Nigga, nobody knew, nobody said nothing about no Bundog, nigga. Why? Like, that shit's crazy.
Have never been confirmed. Seeing what would unfold over the next few years suggests he may have not been far off. It all started with Bundog throwing a subliminal shot at Kodak by rapping to his music on Instagram Live right after the shooting hit the news.
This is the hardest song of the year.
YG then chimed in by mocking KTB Rico, the man who was shot alongside Kodak, after Kodak gave him a bag shortly after the shooting. The online antics seemed to have struck a nerve for a number of Kodak's affiliates who decided to respond. It began with KTB Rico posting an Instagram story of a snippet of his new song. One of the bars was aimed at Pressa, saying he had him running.
I keep this Glock and I move like a ghost. I got a couple, I just keep it on the low. And I'm a young nigga shooting like a pro. Speak on yeah, you gon' go and that's on bro. Really had the pressure running like a hoe.
Soon after, Lil Crix, another Kodak affiliate who was there when the shooting went down, messaged Pressa directly, asking him to drop his location, which Pressa did. According to Crix, he saw Pressa run from him and later found out he hopped on a flight the next day. The back and forth between the rappers and their teams continued into the new year after Pressa and Kodak crossed paths again. On January 22nd, 2023, Paris Fashion Week was taking place. The event featured Kodak Black, and in attendance were several celebrities and influencers, including Pressa and YG. The chance encounter was recorded by YG, who made note of security that was standing oddly close to him. Having security there may have prevented the chance encounter from turning deadly, but it still wasn't enough to ease tensions between the rappers, especially after Top 5 was released from prison. Toronto rapper Top 5 was released from custody on September 23rd.
This nigga Top 5, bro, he just beat his body, so you know what I'm saying? We could talk about it, bro. I heard this nigga is like King Von, but on like another level, like on some like he can get a nigga really whack, like really having pulled, like without a rap, nigga, like got Drake in his back pocket. You feel what I'm saying? Or better words, like he in Drake back pocket.
24 after the Crown stayed a first-degree murder charge against him. Top 5 had been in custody for about 3 years, and not even a week after his release, he went on a press run talking recklessly about his ops, especially Kodak. On the podcast, Late Night with Liamai, Top 5 made an appearance alongside Bundog and YG. He was asked by the host about his thoughts on Kodak, to which he replied with,
So there's an incident that happened with Kodak Black and Presser. What's your thoughts about it?
If I was there, Kodak would have been dead.
He would have been dead. So you guys scared to go Miami?
No, we can't crash it. We're not gonna crash it.
But then again, you never know. If I was there, I'd probably kill him too. I can't like probably, you know what I'm saying?
You never know.
Fuck, I don't know what I'll do.
This particular clip went viral on Twitter, to the point Kodak Black felt he had no choice but to finally respond. During a 1-hour Instagram live, Kodak went straight at Pressa and Top 5. He claims he never saw Pressa and YG at Paris Fashion Week, and if he did, they would have got the hands. He also...
Come on now, we see you performing, and them niggas is right there. If you doing what you doing, you moving around, bro, you liking eye contact with everybody in the crowd, bro. And it's not that many people there, bro. You seen them niggas, bro. For sure you did. Because you made sure to keep a little bit of distance.
The Lil Tyler incident in which Bundog and Top 5 pulled up to his concert in Toronto and had it shut down after Tyler didn't show up. Probably because he sensed something bad was brewing in the alleyway behind the venue.
They say don't give them your energy. I ain't gonna lie, I don't. It just like I can't salute no. I don't respect shit, bro. I don't respect that shit, though. Color Tyler, bro, you vibing. I ain't finna say, bro, I'm gonna be on that. I ain't gonna say, bro, kid. I ain't gonna say all that, cause like all us when we men, I believe like every man should have something in them, like some type of like tiger a lion in them, some kind of way, in some sort. But it's like, man, bro don't got nothing to do with it. And yeah, bro don't got nothing to do with it. And he don't give that vibe off. Yeah, reaching for too long, homie.
Yeah, I ain't gonna cap though.
I'm at my fashion show. You just come at my fashion show. You can't look in the crowd. Trust me, if I would have knew you was in the crowd, homie, I would have did the same shit I did to all you when I saw y'all. I punch you up. And this who just got out of jail, I would have punched you up too. Ain't no difference, homie. That's why you had to shoot. You feel me? Because it's like, I ain't tripping. You would have did your bit one. Cool. You, me and my homeboy, 2 of us, we beat up 4 of y'all, homie. The homie, like, you like this shit. It was 2, like, 2 me and 1 of the dog. I mean, we beat 4 of you up, period. Hey, yo, what my Zoes at in Canada? Ain't this Haitians in Canada? That, homie. Ain't this Haitians in Canada? Where y'all at, homie? Y'all tap in with me or my people, them, homie, ASAP, homie. We ain't going for that. That, homie.
Why he got them on the...
Shit, he's scared of them.
Nah, that's some different shit.
After the live ended, Kodak posted a picture to his Instagram story of him with rapper Cuban Doll, who was once laid up with Top 5 while he was on the run for first-degree murder. Not long after this, Top 5 went live with YG on 6buzz's Instagram account. Throughout the live, he referred to Kodak as Hodak Pink and threw numerous insults at him, and at one point threatened his life.
Because he's talking about boxing me, you, and Press. I told him, I'm head tapping that, and it's self-defense.
So we really know that he's a certified drug addict that doesn't learn from his mistakes. That really has mental health. Because he doesn't see what happened the last time to him when he tried to put hands on people. What's wrong with Hodak Pink?
Hodak Pink. I'm gonna leave you. Listen, when I see you Kodak Black, I'm leaving you.
You need to relax yourself before.
And it's giving him a
yo,
million
where's my dog Bundog? We need Bundog. Yo,
at
Bundog in here too.
The last time, my youth.
But yeah, everybody go at Hodak Pink real quick, cuz.
The man's moving like he would have punched. The man likes to box, eh?
He likes to box, huh?
Come on, man. Get hit up and don't do shit. Get hit up and don't do shit. No, who shot you and do shit? You're lucky I wasn't there. I would have left your talk about got out of jail, I'll box him. I'll let the live know in the world know. You throw a punch, I'm blowing your head off.
These niggas is wild, bro.
Well, I think we can all say Bundog has one of the craziest come-ups in Toronto rap history. He had overcome hardships that could have easily swallowed him whole. But through resilience and the support of his community, he built a life he was proud of, transforming his past struggles into motivation for a brighter future. By sharing his journey, I hope I can inspire those within the streets of Toronto that growth and transformation are always within reach.
Yeah, man. Say, man. That guy's, he's one of the ones, to say the least. You feel what I'm saying? Make sure y'all like, comment, and subscribe. Get in that comment box, tell me how you felt about this crazy story on Bundog. I know Pressa's family, you know what I'm saying? I kind of know his story a little bit, but I ain't know his brother was a big dog, how this video say he is. But that's nor here nor there. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Get in that comment box, tell me how you felt about this video. It's your boy Key checking in, checking out. I'm gone.